Good afternoon, class. Hi, I'm Kevin Young. I'm the instructor for the course, and I just wanted to give you some information about the course, including running through the most important document, which is the course outline, which, of course, you can find in week 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share my screen and show you what the course outline looks like. As I said, this is the most important document. It's got everything in it, all the assignments, all the deadlines, the textbook that is required, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously it's got my contact information in there as well. So you should be able to see it now. Under the course materials, indicates that the textbook is Our Shared Future, Windows into Canada's Reconciliation Journey. This is the textbook for the course. And it's not a super long textbook book. And it's probably just shortly over 200 pages. And it's broken down with a whole bunch of different stories of people's journeys, and so I think you'll really enjoy it. There's reading, I think, in almost every week or close to it, and obviously that's extremely important, just to pay attention to that and keep up with the reading. I'll scroll down a little bit. We'll take a look at the course objective. This is an introductory seminar examining leadership theory and the skills required for future leaders to lead organizations and communities within a context of reconciliation. And you guys will assess your attitudes, biases, beliefs, and current leadership skills and create a leadership portfolio, which is due at the end of the entire course in 3 months' time. I'm going to let you read through the format. I'm not going to read through everything. I'm just going to highlight some of the more important pieces here. Obviously, deadlines, extremely important right here. Due date for each assignment, right? And we'll see that in the course schedule a little bit later. So deadlines are extremely important. Don't miss them. Work ahead if needed. If you have an accommodation, a medical accommodation, then I would receive a letter on your behalf from Student Services indicating the accommodation, and then reach out to me so we can discuss your accommodation. But if you don't have one of those letters, then there are no extensions for deadlines. And if you miss a deadline, the penalty is 10% deducted from your grade for every 24 hours late, which, compared to other universities where I've taught, where they simply give you a 0 as soon as you miss the deadline, this is far more generous. However, if you are 3, 4, 5 days late, it adds up, and 5 days late would be 50% off of your grade. So you really, really need to pay very close attention to those deadlines. Put them into your calendars so you don't forget about it or about them. And as I said, if possible, work in advance. And I'll talk about a little bit about that as we take a look at the course schedule, because there is opportunity to work in advance. We have the learning objectives. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 learning objectives. So by the time this course is done, you should be able to meet those objectives. And then we have a whole bunch of guidelines. And I'm not going to read through all the guidelines, but we do have certain key guidelines, such as this highlighted one: plagiarism and cheating. If you cheat, if you plagiarize using artificial intelligence or any other method, if you get caught, obviously there are consequences to that. So don't do it. It's not worth it. Do the assignments yourselves, right? There is, of course, this next highlighted section here. It says every 24 hours that an assignment is late, 10% is deducted, which I've already explained. Gives you a little information on how to create your assignments, double-spaced, Times New Roman, although I don't really care what font you use as long as I can read it. But double-spaced is, or at least 1.5 spaced, is much better than single line. Single line spacing is very, very difficult to follow. And let's move on to the assessment grading. So, of course, everything's out of 100%. We have 3 reflection papers, each worth 10%. We have a reconciliation proposal worth 15%. We have a reconciliation plan worth 25%. And then finally, the leadership portfolio is due at the very end, and it's worth 30%. And the portfolio is a collection of everything listed above, the reflection papers, the proposal, the plan, and 1 or 2 new pieces of information. And then, of course, each of these assignments, there's a little bit of information. The specific instructions for each assignment will be found within the course, whether that's week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6. Here within the course outline, there's just a little bit of information about reflection papers, the proposal, the plan, and the leadership portfolio. The reflection papers, of course, you've probably done these before, you may have done these before. And this is really about, what have I learned in the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks with reading the textbook, maybe watching some of the videos that are within the weeks, maybe some additional reading materials. What are my takeaways? What is really impacting me? So that's a reflection paper. The proposal is putting together an initiative or an action that you are going to do, that you legitimately could do if you wanted to, something that you will lead towards improving reconciliation in Canada. And it has to be viable. It has to be something that is doable. In other words, you can't say, well, I want to ensure that reconciliation and specifically maybe residential schools, the history of residential schools in Canada. I want to ensure that that's taught in every single province. Well, as wonderful as that is, that idea, you can't do it. You're not in a position to do it. So we want to move away from hypothetical big pie in the sky ideas, and we want to do something that is very, very viable, something that is doable. Maybe, I want to write a letter to my member of parliament or member of the legislative assembly, and I want to write in this letter, I want to tell them that using residential schools again as an example, I want to see residential schools being taught within the province of Saskatchewan, for example. That's an action that someone would be able to do. Not overly difficult, could be done within a short time frame. So again, the proposal and the plan, because the proposal is the idea that will be developed into the plan. It's supposed to be something that you legitimately can do if you wanted to. So you definitely want to stay away from, as I said, big pie in the sky ideas. Well, I want to change something for the country. And you also want to stay away from ideas that, well, when I graduate as a social worker 3 years from now, I'd like to take on this plan. No, that's hypothetical. You want something that you can take on almost immediately to prove that it is something that you could do if you wanted to. So it's not, I guess what I'm trying to say is this is not a theoretical exercise like many papers can be. This is really thinking about something that you could legitimately do in a very short in the short time frame, perhaps even while we're in this course for the next 3 months, and demonstrate to me that you have the ability and you have the necessary resources to take action. Okay, so that's the proposal. The plan, of course, follows the proposal, and the plan would include more details regarding how you're going to actually lead this initiative. And then finally, as I said, the leadership portfolio. All assignments have to be submitted. If you miss one, you can see right here, you get a grade of not passed. So you want to make sure you submit everything. And then in bold, yellow, and black, in-text citations and references following APA are required for all assignments. Now, in week 1, there are a couple of APA documents telling you how to cite. The whole purpose of citing really means you're taking information from somewhere else and you are acknowledging that you took it from somewhere else and you're giving credit to the author of that information. So you don't want to read our course textbook, Our Shared Future. You don't want to read that several chapters in, get a whole bunch of information, and then write a paper and not cite or reference the book. In other words, you would just be writing it as if all the ideas presented were your own, which is not the case, right? So when you do learn new information, you want to cite it. So, and you want to include a reference at the end of your paper. So there are, as I said, 2 Word documents about APA in week 1. I encourage you to take a look at those. And of course, reach out to me if you have any questions about APA, because it is a big stumbling block for a lot of students. You want to be using citations. And when you use citations, you're proving to me that you are reading the course textbook, which is a requirement. So you're not only proving to me that you're reading it, you're proving to me that you understood it and that you can apply the information into your papers as critical thinking. And then here we have the course schedule, which has week by week all of the readings. And then the far right-hand column, the assessments or the assignments, and the deadlines. Now, I said earlier I wanted to talk about the course schedule and working in advance. And this is exactly what I wanted to talk about, because as you can see, week 1, week 2, week 3, no assessments, no assignments. Week 4, they are surveys. They're not really assessments or assignments, but they are surveys, and they are to be submitted at the end of the course. Now, the idea is that you complete them in week 4. If you complete them in week 5 or week 6, it's not the end of the world, but please don't wait until the end of the course to complete the survey. The whole idea is that you want to complete these surveys near the beginning of the course, because these surveys are measuring your understandings or your understanding of leadership, what it means to you, how you see yourself as a leader. And if you wait till the very end, you're robbing yourself of that opportunity, because when you do it near the beginning, then at the end of the course, you can kind of compare, well, this is what I thought about leadership, and this is what I thought of myself as a leader at the beginning of the course in the first 4 weeks. But now, 12 weeks, 13, 14 weeks later, I see things differently. It's kind of like a pre and a post. So the leadership surveys, as I said, ideally you complete them in week 4. If you can't, and it takes till week 5, maybe week 6 at the most, don't go any further than that. Get those done so that you've got that comparison. And then the very first deadline for an assignment is week 5, October 1st. And today is September 3rd. So where I'm going with all this is you've got about a month of not submitting any assignments. Because even the leadership surveys, if you complete them in week 4, you're not submitting them until the end of the course. So for the next 4 weeks, you have time to read, obviously, read ahead, and even start working on some of the other assignments. And I say this not because you have to, but because no extensions for deadlines, again, unless you have a medical accommodation. So coming to me the day of an assignment or after an assignment or even days before an assignment and asking me for an extension, I'm going to tell you, can't do it. You're going to get that 10% per 24 hours penalty. So everybody knows, right? So we've got broken down by week, all of the readings. So, and because this is an online course, there's no requirement for us to meet, and you can work at your own pace. You can read ahead, etc. And as you can see, the course textbook, Our Shared Future, the readings start in week 2, and even in week 2, it's pages 1 to 7. I mean, it's very short. Week 1, you know, it has everything listed that you're supposed to do. You look at week 3, you've got some additional readings, and then again, the course textbook from pages 9 to 27. So there's lots of opportunity to work ahead to avoid missing any deadlines. So October 1st is the first deadline. That's reflection paper 1. We move down. The next deadline, October 29, almost a month later, and that is the proposal. And please reach out to me with proposal ideas. If you are unsure, reach out to me. I've been teaching this course for a couple of years now. I've seen some great papers. I've seen some great ideas. And you may have a great idea, but you may not be entirely sure on the direction. Reach out to me. Send me an email. We can have a Zoom call, whatever, and I can let you know if you're on the right track. Again, not hypothetical. Don't, oh, well, what I think I'd like to do in the future, right? It has to be something that you can actually lead in the very short term. So the proposal is due October 29. The next assignment is the second reflection paper due November 5. And then the reconciliation plan is due November 19. The third reflection paper is due November 26. And finally, putting all of those things together, the reflection papers, the proposal, the plan, the surveys that are added at the very end, and then there is also a short paper. All of those are put together into the portfolio, which is due December 8, with no readings as part of week 13. So that's the course outline. Read it, maybe a couple of times, go through it. Obviously, as I said, you want to pay very close attention to the deadlines, ensuring that you know exactly when they are, and you're going to be working towards meeting those deadlines. I'm just going to show you here in week 1, there's an instructor welcome letter giving a little bit of background information about myself. The second document is the course outline, which we just took a look at. The class introductions, please post something, introducing yourself, giving a little bit of background information, why you're taking the course, etc. Lots of students have already done that, which is great. Thank you very much. If you haven't done it yet, please do so. And it's a way to communicate with other students, which is a great idea for an online course such as this one, because there's no teamwork in this course. So you really don't have very much interaction with other students. And so in providing your introduction and maybe making a connection with other students, you can use, if I scroll up here, you can use the social forum, which is this one here. The social forum, you can go in there and you can talk to other students about the course, or whatever you want to, and have that connection with other students, because a course like this, you really are working in isolation from other students, because there's no teamwork or et cetera, no group activity, and so you may want to do that. Under the introductions, there's the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's 94 calls to action. It's a lengthy document, because of course there are 94 calls to action, and so that is a critical document for this course. And then we have APA, and within this folder, I believe there are 2 APA documents. Please read over those, because, as I said, for all of the assignments, APA is a requirement. APA stands for American Psychological Association. It's simply a way of writing your papers, which, as I mentioned earlier, includes citations, references, double spacing, or at least 1.5 line spacing, etc. And so that's essentially it for week 1. We're coming up and starting week 2. And, one of the most important things, the course just opened a few days ago, but one of the most important things I recommend to students is, when you have some time, things are not chaotic, sit down and look at the screen and click on each week and click on the links. And you don't necessarily have to read or watch whatever's in there, but at least you're familiar with, oh yeah, in week 2, what is leadership? Why does it matter? Okay, and then, I've got a video I need to watch. Now, it doesn't tell you how long the video is, so that's important, to keep in mind. Don't worry, it's not an hour or anything like that. But so I've got a video to watch, and I have to read, 7 or 8 pages out of the course textbook. Okay, good to know, right? And then you kind of move on to each week, click on each thing. Now, of course, you have the course outline. Specifically, you have the course schedule telling you everything that you need to do with deadlines associated. But now you're within the course and becoming familiar just with what the course looks like week by week, looking at the readings, clicking on this. Okay, this is what I have to do. And then down here, I've got 7 most common leadership styles, et cetera, et cetera. So becoming familiar just with how to navigate within the course week to week is important. Just so you're comfortable with doing that. Of course, I sent out a little message at the beginning of the course, and just welcoming you to the course and highlighting the fact that APA is used, and deadlines, et cetera, et cetera. Please keep in touch with me. If you have questions, you can reach out to me at any time. And as I said, I'm happy to set up a Zoom call with you if you have questions. It's always better to ask questions in advance of deadlines, right? Because reaching out to me after the deadline, it's too late. So those are my recommendations for all of you. Take the necessary time, read that course outline, pay very close attention to the course schedule and the deadlines, and then go into the course and go week by week and just familiarize yourself with what the expectations are. And the first month, pretty much there's nothing, right? Other than the leadership surveys that are supposed to be completed in week 4, but not submitted until the very end. So for the next 4 weeks, you have lots of time to read ahead, watch videos. The reflection paper is the first thing that is due, and that's like in October. So, some of you may decide that you want to move a little bit faster and write that reflection paper and submit it before the deadline. And I don't mean, 2 to 3 weeks before the deadline, but there's nothing wrong with submitting before a deadline. You still want to read all of the requirements, watch the required videos, et cetera, et cetera. But once you've done that, you could potentially submit a week or even 2 weeks in advance of a deadline if you wanted to, as long as you've read and viewed all of the required course materials. And in doing so, first of all, you're not going to miss the deadline. And secondly, it allows you to move ahead and work ahead on future assignments, simply because the next 4 weeks, there's really nothing other than some reading and viewing materials, but you're not submitting anything. So it does give you an advantage if you work ahead a little bit. I respond to emails within 12 hours. I monitor that 7 days a week for the most part. I am going away, just so you know, I'm going away on Friday, September 8th, and I'm not actually back in the country until late September 12th, Tuesday. And I'm not really going to be monitoring my emails for that period of time. That's Friday, September 8th to Tuesday evening, late evening, September 12th. So I'm not going to be, if I even have a chance, it's going to be pretty limited to monitor emails. So I just wanted to let you guys know that it's not really consequential because, of course, there's nothing due. But if you do send me an email in that period of time, I'm probably not going to be responding to it until September 13th. So that's so you know. You're going to learn a tremendous amount from this course. I think a lot of the past students have really enjoyed it, learning not only about leadership and what it means to you and what strong leadership characteristics are and attributes, but also within that context of reconciliation within our country that has been so divided for so long due to the history of residential schooling, due to racism, due to discrimination, etc. It is an extremely important topic in the history of Canada. It is a very current topic. It is impossible to read any news on a week-to-week basis without some conversation or some article on residential schools, on equity, diversity, inclusion, the importance of those within companies, within our country. It's just a very, very current, important topic, and leading diverse cultural workforces. We also have very strong or high immigration into this country. And so all of these things are extremely important to know. I can tell you, growing up in Canada, I had no education at all on residential schooling, on the 60s scoop, none whatsoever. It just wasn't part of the curriculum. And I learned a tremendous amount when I worked as a frontline youth care worker with 2 Indigenous organizations, and I learned a lot about the history and the consequences of what the Canadian government did over 100 years ago. So you guys are going to learn a tremendous amount. That the course textbook, Our Shared Future, is a key ingredient in this course, and I wish all of you the best of luck. And please stay in touch with me and reach out to me when you have questions so that we can have a conversation which will inevitably make your learning experience much stronger. That's it for today. I conclude the video, and I look forward to working with all of you, and I hope you enjoy the journey for the next 3 months. Bye for now.